Yo, what is good, YouTube? So today I want to talk about a few issues Battlefield has. Some are more prevalent and a lot more noticeable than others, and some are a little bit more smaller, but still impact a large variety of people. What you guys will be seeing in the background is just some gameplay from my live here on youtube.com. So make sure you all do me a favor and drop a like on this video and, subscribe, those notifications turned on so you don't miss out on anything Battlefield 6 related. So I say one of the main things that really plagues Battlefield right now, and the reason why settings videos are so popular, is aim assist. And it's not that because aim assist is like too bad or it's too broken or something or any other sort. I mean, actually, it's kind of a little bit of all three. But there are some specific reasons here which I'll dive into on why aim assist and the way it works just isn't really that great. Like, I don't know what they were doing. It was kind of like a massive oversight on their part to kind of switch things up. But let's get into at least one of the main issues. So a lot of people say that aim assist can be too sticky, and that can be kind of broken down into a couple different things. But I will say that while aim assist may be deemed as too sticky by some people that talk about it on social media, we have to also remember that the people that are on social media that talk about things are relatively the vocal minority that are just going to be talking about things. The mass majority of people that play the game don't really get on social media, they just play. They don't even relatively consume content, or if they do consume anything, maybe they watch a video, maybe they watch a stream, but they're not out there on Twitter and Facebook and Reddit. They're not talking on all these different platforms at all. They just are not even on those to begin with. So while that's out of the way, yes, aim assist for, I guess, the people that are talking about it can be too sticky. It can really snap you onto people, and that does kind of bother some of the keyboard and mouse players, but how much of an issue is it really for the every single person that plays versus just the people that talk about it? I don't think it is seriously that crazy. I think there are other bigger issues, but I still have to talk about this because there are inherent issues with how aim assist and your dead zones and everything do work, and it all, kind of goes into one thing. So one thing that is still an issue, and I think they said they were going to fix within like the season 1 update or update so far, that they really didn't fix. If they have fixed anything, it has not been noticeable, which for this instance is not good. So on our dead zones, if you guys know what a dead zone is, obviously that is the dead zone in your controller, in which, if you have it set to basically 0, what I play on, that means that any single little bit of movement, the smallest millimeter of movement, will register in game, and that right there kind of dictates how fast you can kick in any type of input on your analog sticks. But the weird thing about dead zones and aim assist and how it ties together is the fact that the dead zones and the aim assist kind of work almost in a bit of a square format, or like a cross format. So if you'll notice, going from left to right to be able to maybe snap onto somebody or something like that is a lot easier than it is to maybe go diagonally. So you can go up and down and left and right, and that is relatively simple when it comes to actually locking onto somebody. But because those dead zones, from what someone tested, are more in that square shape, it's hard to get people outside of that general up, down, left, right. And as a result, you can really overcorrect or feel like you get no aim assist at certain angles, which if someone's jumping across your screen and you're trying to be able to, turn to them, and you're hoping that some of the aim assist is going to help you catch on to them, yes, that makes sense, right? Like, that's what it should be helping you do as a controller player. You do need aim assist. That's why it is there. But it is not working in the way it's intended, and it should be in a relatively circle format, much like how you see any other first-person shooter. I'll name a Warzone or Call of Duty. That is always in a circular format. That's why the rotational aim assist and everything kicks in, and why people feel like the aim assist in that game is very strong. It's also equally, as if not stronger in this game. It just kicks in a little bit weird and differently, and they need to really remove that sort of square shape with it and make it into a circular shape. But then now this even goes into some of the other things the developers were talking about. Specifically, I think there was a tweet on Twitter from one of the head guys over at DICE talking about how the aim assist and the way they're actually doing things got changed from the open beta to the full game. Now, I'm going to be 100% transparent. I don't really remember the differences between the open beta and the full game and how it actually felt to aim at somebody. I just will say that it still feels okay to aim at somebody in this game, though the aim assist and how it kicks in, and sometimes when it randomly decides to not work, is a bit odd, and that leads to gunfight inconsistency. So I'm not a fan of that, and I don't really think I remember that as much in the beta, so I don't know why they changed the way the aim assist works from then until now. But if you guys have noticed any difference, be sure to let me know in the comments below. I can't really recall that much of a difference. I just know that in the full game, there's a lot more inconsistency per gunfight, with how you're able to lock onto a target, whether you get aim assist, whether you don't. And that also does tie into the next thing I'm going to be talking about. But that is like the main issue. Like, even if you have your settings all the way dialed in and they're all fixed, you know, and you got them all figured out. Like, I've got my settings videos up and I've helped so many people, and then say the game feels so much better for them. There's still only so much you can do when the actual game itself doesn't quite work properly. So that should be coming out in a hopeful near future fix, as that would be absolutely massive for the game. Now, to kind of tie into that here a little bit in terms of what I was talking about with gunfight inconsistency, this has been one of my biggest pain points with the game, is how it feels like I could, let's say, put a bunch of shots into somebody and they're really not going to hit, or maybe they do start hitting, but then somebody will turn on me and then they're going to hit me and take me down almost immediately. That is one of the most annoying things, and that actually goes into a few separate issues that stem into one. So the first thing obviously is bloom. And the way the guns actually bloom out, and bloom, for those of you guys that aren't really familiar with the term, that is when you shoot in a specific direction and then your bullets start deviating from that specific direction or what you were aiming at and hit outside that target. And apart from having bloom in game, there's also other attachments in game that further increase your bloom, essentially, like mess with your ADS accuracy just for having underbarrel, and it's kind of a little bit misleading in the menu. That's why I would say to not go for underbarrels that potentially mess with your ADS accuracy. That is absurd. Not really sure why that's a thing. I don't really like it. I don't understand why they did that, but that just adds to the issue of what they said they were supposed to fix in season 1 but didn't. But hopefully, I think we're supposed to be getting a fix here on bloom in the near future. That should have been in the game already, and it really shouldn't be as bad as it is. I know bloom has been in basically every Battlefield almost probably ever, but I don't think it's ever been this bad to my knowledge. The other thing that gets you a lot of the inconsistency, apart from, let's say, the bloom that's built into the game, maybe running some attachments that increase it, is the overall servers and the hit registration on the servers. So the servers themselves actually have a tick rate of about a 60 hertz tick rate, which, if you want to compare it to another first-person shooter that's very popular, Call of Duty or Warzone, the servers over there are roughly at about a 20 tick rate, or maybe a 30. So at minimum, the servers on Battlefield are 2 times better, or everything should register 2 times faster. Maybe not necessarily 2 times faster, but there is, you know, double the information going to the server, so things should inherently be cleaner. But we have a lot of issues also with how do you connect to the server? What is your ping when you connect to it? I've noticed that whenever I play the game, for whatever reason, my server ping ends up being significantly higher than it would be on Call of Duty. On a game like COD, from where I'm at, where I'm located, if I start getting a ping of like 40 to 60, that means I should probably just back out of that lobby, as the hit registration is going to be trash. And there's a lot of times in Battlefield where my ping is never getting below 30 to 40, which seems a little bit odd to me. So that adds to some of the issues where people are connecting to servers that are farther away. So while you may have servers that are faster, the connection people get to them is bad. And then you start tying bloom in with that and that inconsistency. And that has you feeling like your gunfights start being a lot more inconsistent, where you try to shoot at somebody or they just turn around and take you out in like 0.1 seconds. It is a little bit absurd, and that's what leads to a lot of frustration, is there's not as much consistency and guarantee that if I know I'm going to hit somebody first, or if I know I'm putting some good shots into them, that my bullets are going to go where they're supposed to go, I'm going to take them out. It just leads to a lot of frustration, and that's something that I personally dealt with. I've also dealt with a lot of dying around corners. That also goes to show how bad the server hit registration is, because there's no way that, you know, when I die or when I go down, I should be looking at my body, you know, when you first go down, as being way around the corner when I'm not moving that fast. Like, that's just not a thing. I should be able to get behind objects, get behind cover, not feel like bullets are rounding corners or taking me out, and, you know, things are just messing up. So when you add all these things together with aim assist and not working properly, and the servers and the hit reg and the bloom, it's like you add all this stuff together and you just have so many issues that are relatively small but just all compound that need to desperately be fixed in order for the game just to feel better. We shouldn't be having all these issues. And then the other one of the last things I want to talk about is the debate between PC versus console, or I should say basically controller versus keyboard and mouse. So this is something I wasn't really aware of initially, is that I play controller on PC. I've always played controller. I've played controller for my entire life, and I've played controller on PC for a lot of years as well. It's just my desired and my preferred input. You should be able to play with what you want and not have a distinct advantage depending on the input you play. Obviously, there's going to be top players on either input, but there really shouldn't be in-game advantages. I know some people like to say aim assist is an in-game advantage, but have you seen the people that can do crazy stuff on keyboard and mouse? I will say keyboard and mouse has a lot higher skill ceiling than controller, and it's a lot harder to be able to get to that top area. And you'll have players of lesser skill on controller because of aim assist that'll be able to take out people on keyboard and mouse. But with both inputs, you can still do exceptionally well as long as you are good at the game. The thing I wanted to get to, though, when talking about those inputs before I got a little bit sidetracked, is the fact that there is apparently 25% more recoil on keyboard and mouse as there is on controller. And that to me is absolutely whack. There is no reason for there to be any type of recoil difference between the inputs. That is not something that is acceptable in any first-person shooter. Call of Duty has never done that. I don't want to bring up COD, but it's the other main competitive first-person shooter that is on both platforms, and there has never been a thing where your input dictates how much recoil you can get on something. I've had people say in my comment section that, hey, this doesn't work on PC, and I'm like, I just always tell them, oh, you probably should get better. But also, in reality, they may be getting just more recoil by default because of their input, which is just not acceptable. So I'm not really sure why that's even there in the game. And also something that is in the game for those PC or keyboard and mouse players is the fact that you are having your built-in aiming, or your aim input is being dictated by the actual recoil in the game. A guy by the name of Enders made a good video on it, showcasing how when he was going from left to right using his gun, that it was a lot harder to go to the right side versus the left side based on the recoil pattern of the gun. And you're almost like fighting with it on your natural aim input, which seemed a little bit odd, and it would explain why certain guns you can move way faster one way with versus the other based on the fact of the actual recoil pattern. It's one thing to pull down and control recoil, but it's a whole nother thing for it to prevent you from turning from one side to the other based on where you're firing. I know some people out there may like that because, oh, they want it to be more milsim-like, but Battlefield is not a milsim game. This is an arcade mass multiplayer shooter. It is not a milsim game. That might piss some people off, but that's genuinely what Battlefield is. It is a large-scale arcade first-person shooter. So that being said, I think I've talked about all the issues. If you guys have noticed any of these, have dealt with any of this stuff, be sure to let me know in the comment section below. I'm always open to making these videos where I talk about things that the community is feeling, and this is one of those things that has plagued me, myself, me, my friends, anybody else that plays the game. It affects absolutely everybody, and I want obviously the game to be in the best state possible, so that way it garners the most amount of success. That being said, thank y'all for choosing to watch this video. If you guys enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe, do me a favor, check out this other one on screen, and I'll see y'all next time.